Sissy Spacek, the muse with a fragile beauty, as if a single breeze could make the heart tremble. An actress who once left Hollywood breathless when she became the blood-soaked girl in Carrie, and later stood at the very peak of cinema with an Oscar in her hands. Yet behind those gentle eyes that seemed to know only love, behind a career that looked untouched by pain, lay years steeped in tears and unspeakable loss. She was once the bewildered child who watched her beloved sister taken away in an accident. A tragedy that followed her like a shadow that never left. Hollywood once dismissed her for being too ordinary, giving her only fragile, soft-spoken roles because her eyes seemed too kind. And when the world believed Sissy Spacek had fully belonged to fame, she quietly withdrew to a peaceful countryside, far from the noise and the gossip that always came with the spotlight. Audiences admired her in fearless, complex roles and praised her acting for being so natural it hardly seemed like acting at all. But few knew that every time she returned to the screen, Sissy Spacek had to face her own fears. The fear of expectations, of comparisons, of being dragged once more into the whirlpool of fame she never truly chose. Sissy Spacek is not the symbol of flawless perfection. She is a woman both gentle and proud, tender yet scarred. And perhaps it is precisely those wounds never spoken aloud that have kept her light from ever fading. If you've ever shivered watching Carrie or fallen in love with the honesty in Sissy Spacek's performances, leave a comment. Yes, Sissy Spacek. So we can together revisit the truths Hollywood has long tried to hide behind that gentle smile. The clock struck midnight on Christmas Eve, 1949. While children in Quitman, Texas waited eagerly for Santa Claus, a small baby girl was born in a modest home at the heart of Wood County, Mary Elizabeth Spacek, the girl the world would one day know as Sissy Spacek. She was the youngest of 3 siblings. Her father, Edwin Arnold Spacek Sr., was an agricultural extension agent with Texas A&M University who spent nearly 3 decades helping local farmers improve their harvests. He also served as president of the Rotary Club in Quitman. Her mother, Virginia Francis, worked as a county court secretary. The Spaceks were a well-respected middle-class family. Sissy's grandfather had once been mayor of Granger, Texas, while her father led restoration projects for historic Stinson House and helped develop public lakes across Wood County. Sissy's childhood was simple, yet full. Alongside her brothers, Robbie and Edwin Jr., she grew up among fields and golden southern sunsets. They went fishing by the lake, rode their horse Buck, watched afternoon films at the small Quitman Theater, and joined town talent shows. When she wasn't playing, Sissy helped her father clean the stables or typed legal papers for her mother at the courthouse. One afternoon, her parents took her to see the local cheer squad perform. As the glittering uniforms of the Coquettes took the stage, the little girl stood frozen, mesmerized by their confidence and radiance. From that moment, Sissy knew she didn't just want to watch. She wanted to belong to that world. That spark grew stronger when she later saw the film Come Blow Your Horn at the Select Theater in Mineola. Actor Tony Bill appeared on screen, charming, magnetic, and the young girl in the audience felt as if she were soaring alongside him. Not long after, at just 6 years old, Sissy stepped onto the stage herself in a local talent contest. Her clear voice and radiant eyes won over the audience. She understood then. The stage wasn't just a place to perform, it was where she truly belonged. In the years that followed, she continued to shine at Quitman High School, where she was crowned Homecoming Queen, a symbol of her natural charm and unshakable optimism. The greatest influence on Sissy's life came from her famous cousin, Rip Torn, a Texas-born actor who was making a name for himself in New York. Every time Rip came home to visit, she would follow him around, asking endless questions about Broadway, about movies, and about what it felt like to live inside a character. Those stories planted the seed of a dream of leaving her quiet hometown behind, to live in a world lit by stage lights. But tragedy struck early. In 1967, her brother Robbie, the one who had given her the nickname Sissy, died of leukemia at just 18. The loss tore apart the innocent world of the young Texas girl. Years later, Sissy would recall that it was her mother, Virginia, who helped the family stand again. "My mother allowed us to grieve and then to move on. Because of her, I was no longer afraid." That devastating moment changed her path forever. College plans were set aside. Instead, Sissy packed her guitar and her half-formed dreams and went to live with her cousin Rip Torn in New York, beginning a new chapter of her life. From the small town of Quitman to the bustling streets of Manhattan, from a barefoot girl riding horses to a young woman daring to leave Texas in search of her own voice, her journey began in sorrow, yet carried a quiet faith that from the simplest beginnings, one could still create something extraordinary. In New York, Sissy Spacek had nothing but a guitar, a handful of self-written songs, and a lingering homesickness for Texas. At first, she dreamed of becoming a folk singer. Her voice was raw, warm, and carried a quiet melancholy like the southern wind. In 1969, under the stage name Rainbow, she released a single titled "John, You've Gone Too Far This Time," a humorous reaction to John Lennon and Yoko Ono's nude photo on the cover of Two Virgins. Though the song failed commercially, it proved one thing: Sissy had character, and she wasn't afraid to speak her mind. She continued auditioning for Decca Records, where one producer remarked, "Your voice sounds too much like Loretta Lynn." They didn't know that this so-called similarity would later become destiny, when Sissy would portray Loretta Lynn herself in Coal Miner's Daughter and walk up to the Oscar stage. Music didn't smile upon her, but New York opened another door. She enrolled in the Lee Strasberg Institute, where she learned to live inside a character rather than merely act. By day, she worked as a photo model for Ford models to pay her rent. By night, she sang in small bars or appeared as an extra in Andy Warhol's experimental projects. Life in Manhattan was harsh, but it forged in Sissy one essential quality: endurance. And then came an opportunity. Quiet, but life-changing. In 1972, she was cast as Poppy in Prime Cut, alongside Lee Marvin and Gene Hackman. The role was small, but enough to draw Hollywood's attention. A year later, she broke through with Terrence Malick's Badlands, 1973, playing Holly Sargis, a teenage girl, innocent, fragile, yet haunted by tragedy. The film became a classic, and Sissy Spacek was hailed as the new face of American realism. On the Badlands set, she met Jack Fisk, the film's art director, who would become her husband, creative partner, and lifelong companion. Looking back, Sissy once said, "Acting wasn't just a job. It was where I could turn pain into something beautiful." And indeed, she did. From a shy Texas girl who once failed in music, Sissy Spacek found her true voice through film, a language she used to tell her own story. Quiet, profound, and deeply sincere. The turning point in Sissy Spacek's life came in 1976, a seemingly small opportunity that would make her an immortal icon of horror cinema. It was Carrie, the film adaptation of Stephen King's debut novel, directed by Brian De Palma. When news of the project spread, Sissy hardly stood a chance. De Palma was considering brighter, more conventionally glamorous names like Melanie Griffith and Betsy Slade, actresses already familiar to young audiences. But Sissy understood something few others did. She wasn't Hollywood beautiful, but she was real, and that authenticity was exactly the soul of Carrie White. A girl cast out, mocked, and desperate to be loved. During her audition, instead of trying to appear radiant, Sissy transformed herself into an outcast. She wore an old sailor dress her mother had sewn for her as a child, rubbed Vaseline into her hair so it would hang limp, left her face unwashed, her teeth unbrushed, and kept an emotionless expression the entire time. When she walked in, De Palma didn't see an actress. He saw Carrie. He changed his mind on the spot. Sissy didn't stop there. Throughout filming, she isolated herself from the rest of the cast to preserve her character's loneliness. Her dressing room was covered with Gustave Doré's religious engravings, images of Christ's suffering, guilt, and divine punishment, helping her embody Carrie's world of fear and twisted faith. Then came the prom night sequence, one of the most haunting scenes in 1970s cinema. When the bucket of pig's blood was poured over her head, Sissy refused to reset between takes. She stayed in the same blood-soaked dress for 3 days, without showering or changing, allowing the feeling of humiliation and filth to seep into her skin until the entire sequence was complete. In the final scene, when Carrie's hand bursts from the grave, Sissy refused a body double. She wanted to be the one who rose from the earth. The man who buried her for that shot was none other than Jack Fisk, her husband and creative partner since Badlands. When Carrie premiered, the world fell silent. Made on a budget of just $1.8 million, it grossed over $33.8 million, a hit beyond anyone's expectations. More importantly, the image of the disheveled girl with blood-stained eyes standing in the fiery chaos of prom night became a pop culture landmark, referenced, reenacted, and parodied hundreds of times across film, television, cosplay, and modern art. Carrie earned Sissy Spacek her first Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, an almost unheard-of feat for a horror film. Legendary New Yorker critic Pauline Kael wrote, "She keeps transforming from a whining child to a luminous innocent and finally into something else entirely, a force of rage capable of consuming the world." But for Sissy, that success wasn't a victory of fame. It was a victory of courage. She once said, "I understood Carrie. I knew what it felt like to be laughed at, to be dismissed, and then to use that very pain to rise again." That's why I loved the role. Carrie was not just the door that opened her career. It was Sissy Spacek's artistic declaration that even in darkness, one can still find light, if they have the courage to face themselves. After shaking Hollywood to its core with Carrie, Sissy Spacek faced an even greater challenge, not to portray a fictional character, but to embody a real person, country music legend Loretta Lynn. It was 1980 when director Michael Apted began work on Coal Miner's Daughter. While studios debated over who could possibly play such an American icon, Loretta Lynn herself appeared on The Tonight Show and uttered one sentence that stunned everyone: "I want Sissy Spacek to play me." The astonishing part was that Lynn had never even seen one of Spacek's films. She simply felt something in her. That declaration sealed Sissy's destiny before she'd even agreed to the role. Yet Sissy herself was the most hesitant of all. She feared she wasn't capable, that she didn't understand enough about Appalachian life or its raw musical heartbeat. But once she accepted, she gave herself entirely. Unlike most actors who lip-synced, Sissy sang every song herself. From "You Ain't Woman Enough" to the timeless Coal Miner's Daughter. She practiced the Appalachian accent for months, plastered lyrics all over her tiny apartment, even on her lamp, until every word lived inside her. Sissy joined Loretta on tour, watching her every move, her walk, her speech, even the way her eyes changed when she sang. The two women, one a music star, the other an actress, quickly became as close as sisters. Loretta taught Sissy how to face the audience, how to stand barefoot on stage, and still command every heart in the room. What amazed audiences most was that Spacek portrayed Loretta from age 13 to over 30 without special effects or elaborate makeup. Through performance alone, she convinced viewers that Loretta Lynn had been reborn. A poor Kentucky coal miner's daughter who rose to American stardom through sheer grit and faith in her own voice. The role catapulted Sissy Spacek to the top. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress and even earned a Grammy nomination, a rare honor for a film actress. Coal Miner's Daughter became a box office triumph, grossing over $67 million and ranking among the top 10 highest-grossing films of 1980. Critics were unanimous in their praise. Rolling Stone called it one of the greatest performances in American film history. Variety wrote, "Spacek doesn't just play Loretta Lynn, she lives, sings, and breathes as her." And Loretta Lynn herself, upon watching the film, broke down in tears. "She didn't play me. She became me." The film was later preserved in the U.S. Library of Congress for its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance. Its legacy continues to echo decades later, paving the way for future musical biopics about women, from Walk the Line, Reese Witherspoon as June Carter, to Judy, Renee Zellweger as Judy Garland. But for Sissy, the most precious reward wasn't the Oscar or the acclaim. It was the lifelong friendship with Loretta Lynn, a bond that remained unbroken until Loretta's passing in 2022. When asked about that role, Spacek simply whispered, "It wasn't just a role, it was a part of my life." After the brilliance of Coal Miner's Daughter, Sissy Spacek entered the most radiant yet introspective phase of her career. Within just a few years, she received 3 more Oscar nominations for Best Actress, each for portraying women who seemed ordinary, yet carried an inner strength powerful enough to silence the world. In 1982, under director Costa Gavras, she played Beth Horman in Missing, an American wife searching for her husband who vanished amid Chile's bloody coup. On screen, she barely spoke. Her eyes told the story. A gaze caught between fear and resolve, as if she were suspended between faith and despair. Starring opposite legend Jack Lemmon, Sissy formed the perfect contrast. He raged with emotion, while she suffered in silence, a silence that hurt even more. Few knew that the script for Missing kept Sissy awake for nights. The tale of a wife searching endlessly for her lost loved one reopened her wound from years past. The memory of Robbie, the brother she'd lost at 17. "I wasn't just playing a woman looking for someone," she said. "I was playing myself." After the film's release, both she and the director received threats from extremist groups, accusing the film of being anti-American. But Sissy simply smiled. When a role provokes attack, it means it has power. Missing went on to win the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and Spacek earned her 3rd Oscar nomination, proof that sometimes silence carries more weight than any scream. 2 years later, in The River, 1984, Sissy returned to the soil, portraying the image of a rural American woman struggling to save her ancestral land from floods and debt. She played May Garvey, a mother caught between 2 battles, one against nature and one against time itself. The film was shot on a real farm in Tennessee, amid cold rain and knee-deep mud. Sissy refused stunt doubles, harvesting rice, baling water, and chopping wood herself. The scene that left the crew speechless was when May sat watching the crops drift away in the flood. No dialogue, no music, only her silent gaze, an idea Sissy herself suggested. The director kept it exactly as it was, saying, No one could have written that kind of emotion. The performance earned her a 4th Oscar nomination and solidified her image as an actress who didn't need theatrics, only truth. Then came 1986, and Crimes of the Heart presented a new kind of challenge: dark comedy. Sissy transformed into Babe Botrell, a woman who shot her abusive husband and then calmly ate a slice of cake as if nothing had happened. The character was strange, pitiful, and frightening all at once. The challenge for Sissy wasn't tragedy. It was making the audience laugh while still feeling uneasy. In one flashback scene, she abandoned all dialogue, relying solely on her eyes. The entire set went silent. The director was about to yell, "Cut," then stopped himself and whispered, "No one could have written that kind of truth." For that performance, Spacek received her 5th Academy Award nomination, closing the golden decade of her career, a period when she made audiences love, admire, and believe in women who didn't speak much, but lived with absolute authenticity. After that era, Sissy appeared less frequently on screen, yet every return left critics speechless. In Robert Altman's 3 Women, she became Pinky Rose, a fragile girl slowly dissolving into another's dreamlike world. Altman once said, "She's one of the most instinctive actors I've ever met." Then came Night Mother, a story with only 2 characters in a small house. A mother and a daughter who announces she's about to take her own life. No tears, no theatrics, just a silence so raw it terrified. That emotion haunted Sissy for weeks after filming ended. In Affliction, she played only a waitress, a fleeting presence, yet her eyes anchored the tormented protagonist from falling into his own abyss. And in David Lynch's The Straight Story, she returned with a gentler spirit, portraying a stuttering, clumsy woman with a pure heart. To prepare, Sissy shadowed a real woman, studying her speech patterns and breathing. "I wasn't imitating," she said. "I was learning how to listen." Then in 2001 came In the Bedroom, the comeback that silenced Hollywood once more. Sissy played Ruth Fowler, a mother shattered by the death of her only son. No screams, no tears, only subtle gestures, averted eyes, a held breath, yet the audience could feel the storm raging within. Director Todd Field recalled, "With Sissy, one take was enough. Every frame was gold." Sissy herself said the role of Ruth was the culmination of everything she had lived: grief, restraint, and motherhood. Perhaps that's why viewers believed she wasn't acting. She was living on screen. The performance earned her a 6th Oscar nomination, along with major awards including the Golden Globe, the Independent Spirit Award, and critics' honors from New York to Los Angeles. In the Bedroom was also nominated for Best Picture that year, affirming that even though she appeared rarely, whenever Sissy Spacek returned, she did so at the level of a true master. Sissy Spacek, an Oscar winner, a Hollywood legend, is off-screen a remarkably down-to-earth woman who lives simply. And fittingly, her marriage began with an almost cinematic twist: a boat accident. In 1972, while filming Badlands, she met Jack Fisk, the film's art director. Sissy played Holly, while Jack quietly built the world her character would inhabit. They were both in their 20s, unknown, and neither could have imagined it was the start of a marriage that would last more than 50 years. Jack had built this beautiful tree house by the river, Sissy told Texas Monthly. "One day, he invited me to row there with him, but a terrible flash flood came. The boat sank. Right then, I knew. Life with Jack would never be boring." A few years later, in 1974, they got married. No wedding gown. Both wore jeans, exchanging vows in a small California chapel. The only witness? Their dog. Immediately after the ceremony, They opened a joint bank account and deposited $30, exactly the cost of a divorce at the time. We thought, if it all goes wrong, we've already got the money, Sissy told People. Now I think it'd probably take something truly dramatic, like death, to part us. They didn't marry out of fairy tale illusion, but out of shared passion for filmmaking, for their craft, and above all, for understanding each other's world. We met while working, Sissy told the Huffington Post. And through the 1970s, almost every film we did was together. That's what bonded us, the love of making movies. It's still what keeps us together today. Jack Fisk has never been just her husband, but also her closest creative collaborator. They've worked side by side on Carrie, Raggedy Man, Violets Are Blue, and many more projects that followed. We don't get jealous, we don't compete. We complement each other, Jack told Rolling Stone. We often remind ourselves how lucky we are to do what we love, with the person we love. Perhaps that's the secret behind their enduring half-century marriage. Neither ever tried to change the other. They simply allowed each other to be. When Jack spent months away on film sets, Sissy didn't sulk or doubt. She once said, "Trust isn't something you work at. It's knowing that the other person is out there doing something good for the world." In 1981, at the height of their careers, Sissy Spacek and Jack Fisk made a bold decision. They withdrew from Hollywood and bought a 210-acre horse farm in central Virginia. There, they raised their two daughters, Skylar and Madison, in peace, far from flashbulbs and box office charts. The white farmhouse amid open fields became the place where Sissy rediscovered the Texas childhood she'd lost, where she could walk barefoot, listen to the insects at night, and live in rhythm with nature. I grew up in Texas, under the sun, with my father playing music and my mother singing lullabies. I guess I've just gone back to what I knew. Only this time, I got to choose it, she once said. Leaving everything else behind, what remained was a love strengthened through work, hardship, and shared spirit. For Sissy, Jack wasn't just the man who built sets for her characters. He built the very world her real life could rest upon, and she always knew that. Their daughters were born soon after they settled in Virginia, growing up like true country children, running barefoot across meadows, riding horses, harvesting crops, and barely aware that their mother was an Oscar-winning actress. The eldest, Skylar Fisk, was raised amid green fields, the scent of hay and horses, and long afternoons strumming her guitar on the porch. Yet, as if by instinct, she too turned to art, becoming a singer, songwriter, and actress, even composing music for projects her mother appeared in. "My mom never told me what to do," Skylar shared. "She just lived in a way that showed me how be real, live real, don't show off." The younger daughter, Madison Fisk, chose a different path, visual art. But it was still art, still an expression of the inner world. "I think my mom taught us that art doesn't need applause. It just needs belief," Madison once said. What's beautiful is that Sissy, in turn, learned from her daughters. She often said that Skylar reminded her that art doesn't have to be serious, only honest. Among these three generations of women, mother, daughters, and later granddaughter, art isn't a profession. It's a way of living, something that flows quietly in the blood, steadfast and enduring. What truly astonished Hollywood was that Sissy Spacek genuinely turned down major roles. The most notable was when she was offered the lead in Terms of Endearment, the very film that later won Shirley MacLaine an Oscar. She declined. The reason? "I was planting trees, and my daughter needed me." It wasn't a one-time decision. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Spacek repeatedly said no to heavyweight roles in order to protect something that seemed small but meant everything: family dinners with her husband and children. "In Hollywood, you can always make one more film and then another," she said, "but you only get one chance to raise your children." On that Virginia farm, Sissy began living a life as simple as the philosophy she believed in. God lives in nature. Each morning, she meditated in the garden, did chores, read books, tended to her plants, and called it another kind of acting, a role she played in real life. Whether you're acting or planting, both require light and patience. Both teach you to believe in something greater than yourself. That quiet faith turned her life into a full circle, from a Texas girl of childhood innocence to a Hollywood woman, and finally back to the earth and sky that had always called her home. She seemed to be a woman entirely devoted to what was most natural. Yet ironically, it was that very unchanging face, still radiant after more than 6 decades, that made people begin to whisper, had Sissy Spacek ever gone under the knife? The rumor began quietly in the late 1980s, when she reappeared on screen with what some described as a more refined look. A few entertainment magazines even ran comparison photos from Carrie to In the Bedroom, asking the same question: has Sissy had cosmetic work done? But strangely, the rumor never ignited. She never commented, never denied it, and never confirmed it. She simply remained silent. Plastic surgeons, when asked, were divided. Some claimed her nose looked slightly slimmer, as if subtly refined. Others disagreed, saying, such changes could easily come from aging, lighting, or simply from a woman who takes care of herself. One Allure article even remarked, if this is the result of surgery, then it's the kindest surgery Hollywood has ever seen. And Sissy, the woman who once turned down film roles because she was planting trees, maintained her deliberate silence. She never rejected the idea of change, but never showcased it either. In one rare moment when the topic came up, asked about her natural appearance, she only smiled and said, I think people are most beautiful when they feel at peace. Nothing more. Perhaps that's why audiences have never felt deceived. Whether her face was altered or not, it has always been a face people could believe in. The face of Carrie, of Loretta Lynn, of the mother in the Bedroom. A face that knows pain, love, and forgiveness. In Hollywood, where youth is measured by Botox injections and the spotlight is mistaken for existence, Sissy Spacek chose another path: to stay silent, to work honestly, and to live truthfully. She never denied aging, but she never turned it into a tragedy either. I'm not afraid of getting older, she once said. I'm only afraid of looking in the mirror one day and not recognizing myself. Maybe the real secret doesn't lie in her nose or her cheekbones, but in something rarer, her unwavering honesty with herself. In a world where everything can be fake, Sissy Spacek chose to be real, and in doing so, she remains forever young. Sissy Spacek was never one of Hollywood's loud icons, yet she remains one of the few faces that make people believe acting can still be an act of truth. 6 Oscar nominations, 6 different lives, 6 ways of enduring and overcoming. No 2 roles alike, yet all breathed with the same pulse of real life. Simple, fragile, profoundly human. She didn't play her characters, she became them. From the naive girl in Badlands to the shattered mother in the Bedroom, from the humiliated outcast in Carrie to the coal miner's daughter who rose from the mud, every role was a way Spacek turned pain into compassion. To directors, she was the actor who didn't need instruction, only feeling. To audiences, she proved that an actor's power doesn't come from shouting, but from the kind of silence that makes people stop and feel. And to younger generations, Sissy Spacek stands as a reminder. You don't need to stand in the spotlight to be great. You only need to stand where you truly believe you belong. "I don't try to attract attention," she once said. "I just try to be honest in every role." It is that quiet, uncompromising honesty, not fame or glitter, that remains Sissy Spacek's truest legacy. Sissy Spacek has never announced her retirement. At 75, she is still working, still choosing her roles, still moving to her own rhythm, slow, steady, and never chasing trends. In 2025, she appeared in the FX Hulu series Dying for Sex, playing Gail, the mother of Molly, portrayed by Michelle Williams. The show quickly climbed into the top 10 most-watched series in the US during its premiere week, proof that Spacek's magnetism has never faded. It's quieter now, yes, but steady, like an old heartbeat that never stops. That same year, she joined the cast of Die My Love, a highly anticipated film featuring Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson, and Nick Nolte, directed by Lynn Ramsey. Her name no longer headlines posters, yet a single glance of hers is enough to signal a serious film. For Spacek, presence is not measured by fame, but by the emotional weight it leaves behind. Off-screen, she still lives on her 2-10-acre Virginia farm, where she and Jack Fisk have spent more than 4 decades together. "Nature is my church. It's where I find comfort," she once said. Every morning, she brews coffee on her porch and watches the mist roll off the hills. Every afternoon, she walks her dogs, listening to the wind instead of the city's noise. In April 2024, she and Fisk celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. The couple appeared at the 96th Academy Awards, side by side with their daughters, Skylar and Madison. There was no declaration of a comeback, no orchestrated media moment, just a simple family presence glowing quietly under the lights. In an age when fame so often burns out those it touches, Sissy Spacek stands as proof of another way to exist: calm, authentic, enduring. She never had to leave art because art never left her. And every time Sissy Spacek steps into frame, Hollywood remembers silence, too, can be a kind of radiance. In a world that changes at dizzying speed, she continues to walk at her own pace. Not fast, not slow, but just right, enough to make everyone stop and watch. Sissy Spacek has never needed scandal to be remembered. She is the kind of artist whose light doesn't blind, it warms, guiding those who still believe in authenticity. In a Hollywood that thrives on noise and glitter, she chose simplicity, quiet work, and devotion to her craft, as though it were the only way to breathe. She never needed the title of legend, nor prestigious degrees to prove her worth. Sissy Spacek has shown that talent and honesty can open every door. Her light may not be the brightest, but it is the most enduring, the kind that makes people believe there is still room in this world for those who live truthfully, work sincerely, and love their art with their whole being. If you've ever been moved by Sissy Spacek's voice in Coal Miner's Daughter, or silenced by the ache in her eyes in the Bedroom, tell us, what moment or song of hers has stayed with you the most? Thank you for joining us on the journey of an artist who has lived truth to the very end. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you won't miss the next tales of the people who shaped Hollywood history with their hearts.